A sapphire spanning 3 generations holds the secret of a scandal that shook the royal family. Diana's ring sparked outrage among aristocrats. Prince Charles's relatives criticized her choice openly. They called the piece unworthy of a royal bride. The scandal erupted instantly. But 3 generations later, this same sapphire became a symbol of memory. The ring they condemned turned into a legend. The piece that caused controversy gained the status of a relic. What changed the fate of this sapphire? Which events transformed scandal into reverence? And why were 3 generations of royal women bound together by one piece of jewelry? The story hidden behind this ring will prove more dramatic than commonly believed. It all began with one woman who dared to break the rules. Diana Spencer made a choice that shocked the royal family. When Prince Charles offered her the chance to select an engagement ring, she refused to follow tradition. She didn't ask for a family heirloom. She didn't accept what her elders would offer. She opened the catalogue from Jeweler Garrard and pointed to the piece that she herself loved. A deep blue sapphire. Brilliant, eye-catching, impossible to ignore. A stone that stood out among all other royal jewels. Imagine the aristocrats' reaction. The future princess chooses a ring from a magazine as if ordering goods by mail. That's exactly what caused the explosion. But to understand the scale of the scandal, we need to know what this piece actually was. The stone wasn't just beautiful, it was exceptional. 12 carats of the finest oval-shaped sapphire brought from distant Sri Lanka. Around it, 14 round-cut diamonds, each shining like a tiny star. All this magnificence was set in 18-carat white gold of the highest quality. In 1981, its value ranged from $37,500 to $60,000. A substantial sum, but not outrageous for the royal family. And then something interesting happened. The price of this piece began to rise. Not just rise, soar. Decades later, it was valued at $520,000. Some experts quoted $700,000. An ordinary engagement ring had transformed into a legend. But the most important part lay ahead. Because it wasn't about the money at all. The real scandal erupted for a different reason. The ring was sold through a catalogue. This meant one thing: anyone could buy it. Anyone with enough money. A commoner could walk into a Garrard shop, open that same catalogue, and order the exact same piece. For members of the royal family, this was unacceptable. A royal bride's jewels must be unique, unavailable to ordinary people, exclusive, ancestral, special. But here was mass production, available to everyone. Charles's relatives didn't hide their displeasure. They believed the blue sapphire wasn't unique enough for the future Princess of Wales. Too simple, too accessible, too ordinary. Documents from that time show the scale of the outrage. Aristocrats discussed Diana's choice behind closed doors, whispered at receptions, shook their heads. And here a new heroine enters this story. Diana didn't change her decision. Moreover, she demonstrated the character that would later make her the people's princess. Faced with criticism, she didn't back down, didn't apologize, didn't try to justify herself. She simply wore her ring. That's all. But that's not everything. This piece had a history reaching back into the past. The story began more than 150 years ago, 1840. Queen Victoria marries Prince Albert. He gives her a wedding gift, a brooch decorated with diamonds and sapphires. This brooch became something blue at the Queen's wedding. By tradition, a bride must wear something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. The sapphire brooch fulfilled this role. Decades later, the situation changed. Jewelers at Garrard studied the royal archives. They sought inspiration in the monarchy's historical heritage. And they found it in Prince Albert's gift, the brooch's shape, The combination of sapphires and diamonds, the deep blue color of the stones, all this served as the foundation for creating the engagement ring Diana would later choose. Photographs captured an important moment. Queen Elizabeth II wore the Victorian brooch to public events repeatedly. She remembered her great-great-grandmother's legacy. She maintained the connection with the past. And in 2024, Queen Camilla appeared at Royal Ascot with this same brooch pinned to a blue jacket. The piece continued to live, passing from one royal figure to another. The next owner would change the piece's fate forever. Diana wore her ring constantly, during official visits, at charity events, at meetings with world leaders. She wore it despite the criticism, despite her relatives' displeasure, despite others considering it insufficiently prestigious. Records from that time show her attachment to this piece. It became her symbol, part of her image, a sign of her independence. The most important part lay ahead. 1996. Diana and Charles divorce. The marriage ended, but the ring's story continued. Diana could have returned the piece, could have forgotten about it, could have hidden it in a jewelry box and never taken it out again. She did otherwise. From time to time, the princess wore the sapphire ring again. Simply because she loved it, simply because it was her choice, her decision, her right. The key moment came later, when the princess's life ended in 1997. And here we reach the main point. After the tragic events, the ring passed to Prince William. The elder son received his mother's piece as part of his inheritance. He kept it for years, waiting for the right moment. 2010 brought that moment. William proposes to Kate Middleton and places his mother's ring on her finger. That very sapphire, those same diamonds, that same white gold. The circle closed. The piece that once caused scandal became a symbol of memory and love. The choice they criticized transformed into a gesture of respect for a departed mother. Kate accepted this ring, accepted its history, accepted the connection with a woman she never knew personally, but whose legacy she would carry for life. She wore the sapphire at public events, in official photographs, during royal tours. Millions of people saw this ring on her hand. The real turning point came later. In recent months, Kate began switching the ring for another set of jewelry. The sapphire disappeared from her finger for weeks, sometimes months. What actually happened? The answer proved both simple and complex. The ring required care, constant, meticulous, professional care. Ben Roberts, managing director of the Clogau brand responsible for Welsh gold in royal jewelry, explained the situation to Hello magazine. His words revealed the truth about what it means to own a historical relic. Let's look at the facts. The ring needs regular inspections. Experts must examine every stone, every setting, every millimeter of the mounting. The slightest crack could lead to losing a diamond. The slightest loosening of a setting could damage the sapphire. The piece requires gentle cleaning, not an ordinary household procedure, but professional work using special products. Only this way can the stone's original brilliance be restored without damaging the metal. When necessary, repair is needed. Immediate, precise, performed by master craftsmen of the highest class. Because this isn't just a ring, it's part of history. It's memory of a woman who changed the image of the monarchy. So what's the real story? That owning a legend requires responsibility, requires care, requires temporary separation for the sake of preservation across centuries. And now, the truth about how this case influenced the future. Other royal brides learned from Diana's story. They didn't want to repeat the same situation, didn't want their jewelry to become available to everyone. Cleve & Company created the engagement ring for Meghan Markle and immediately announced there would be no copies, no catalogues, no possibility of ordering the same piece, exclusivity guaranteed. They made this decision right after Prince Harry proposed to the girl from California. They had learned Diana's lesson well, but Harry found another way to honor his mother's memory. He added stones from Diana's personal jewelry collection to Meghan's ring. Not the main stone. That was new, specially chosen. But two smaller diamonds on the sides. They had belonged to the princess. She wore them during her life. Now they adorned the hand of a daughter-in-law she would never meet. Thus the legacy continued to live. Not through scandals, not through criticism, but through memory, respect, and love. The iconic sapphire remains with Kate. She wears it when the piece's condition allows. She cares for it, understanding its value. Not monetary, though $700,000 is impressive. But historical, emotional, human. The ring that began its life as an object of criticism became a symbol of strength of character. A woman chose what she herself loved, ignoring pressure from the system. She remained true to her decision until the end. And now this piece reminds millions of people. Sometimes the right choice is the one you make with your heart, not at others' direction. The story has ended, but the ring continues to tell it every time it appears in public. That's the whole truth about the legendary sapphire. The scandal turned out to be not a curse, but the beginning of an incredible story. The ring they criticized for its accessibility became a symbol of strength of character and memory. Diana chose what she loved, despite the pressure, and that choice connected 3 generations of royal women. Isn't it amazing how a piece of jewelry transforms from an object of dispute into a relic? If the sapphire's story touched you, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel to learn about other royal jewels. Click the bell. There are even more stories about the monarchy's legacy ahead. Soon I'll tell you about another piece whose fate proved no less dramatic. Until we meet again.